So I've been wrenching on my bike for about 11 years now, and in that time I would say that I'm a good mechanic. By now I'm actually a good bike mechanic, and I'm pretty confident I can do pretty much anything I want to do. I can fix pretty much anything I want. I can modify pretty much anything I want, maybe short of some of the new highly technical stuff that some of the new bikes have with the electronics and things like that. But most basic bikes, I know how to do that and I'm pretty confident with. I've never worked at a professional bike shop as a mechanic or anything like that, but I'm pretty confident that if I wanted to do that type of job, I probably could. So with that, I wanted to share with you guys 8 tips on how to become a good bike mechanic. And certainly there's other ways to go about it, but I'm just going to share with you the ways that kind of worked for me. So with number 1, it's very simple. You're already in the right place. Watch YouTube videos. There is just an almost unlimited amount of knowledge here on YouTube on how to fix, maintain, and modify bicycles. So just watch that. There's a ton of great channels. If I think about it, I might even put some of those links in the description below. This channel too can be helpful, maybe not the absolute best, but I think it's pretty good too. And there's a lot of great channels, a lot of great content. I myself have learned a ton from YouTube videos. Number 2, this one isn't totally necessary, but I did it myself and I think it's a good way, is to have yourself a good bike that you can learn on. So my first bike that I bought as an adult, getting back into cycling, I've told this story before, was back in 2014. It was a 1997 Giant ATX 840, which is a 90s mountain bike. And 90s mountain bikes are really good for learning to work on bikes because they're very simple. There's no hydraulics, there's no electronics, there's no fluids at all. You're talking V-brakes, very basic, very standard stuff. But once you learn how to work on all that, it applies to a lot of the other bikes as well. And it doesn't have to be a 90s mountain bike, it can be a 90s hybrid bike. You know, different years. I'm not saying it has to be that bike, but my point is find a bike that you don't mind. First of all, you don't want to spend too much on probably, and if you make a mistake, it won't cost you that much. Things to look out to not to work on your first bike would be probably like carbon fiber bikes, because if you, for instance, over tighten certain carbon fiber fittings, you can actually break the frame, you know, or break whatever you're torquing down. So, you know, some of the newer, expensive, more exotic bikes you might want to stay away from to do your learning on. Get something cheaper, something more basic, more simple, more traditional, and that'll set you up really good to kind of be confident and not be so worried about wrenching on your bike. So get a good basic bike to learn to wrench on. Tip number 3, you're gonna have to do it anyway, is get some tools. I have some of my most common used tools right up here behind me. Just off the top of my head, you're gonna want to get something like this, maybe AWS-1. You don't have to get this one, but basically this is the 3 most common 4, 5, and 6, I believe. You have 4, 5, and 6 millimeter hex keys, but probably better than that, get something like this. This is just like, I don't know where I got this. I literally probably got this 20 years ago for like a birthday gift or something before I was even into biking. But I use this almost every time I work on a bike. It's just a standard Allen key set or hex key set going from probably 1.5 all the way up to 10 millimeters. Usually you don't use those really small ones, but whatever, super handy, super good. I'm not gonna go through like all the tools you need, but definitely a hex set. Definitely, you're probably gonna wanna get a chain braking tool. This is a very cheap one. I got this one early on in my career. I would now get a better one, but this is doing the job, so I'm still using it. A chain whip. This is used for taking a cassette off. You'll probably end up doing that. Of course, standard garage tools like this crescent wrench. Very handy for all kinds of things. You know, maybe I'll make another video. I think I will make another video just on what tools you need or what tools you might want on a home bike shop. But those are some of the basics. So you're gonna need to get your tools. You can get them all in a kit. They sometimes sell those like blow molded, fold open kits. I don't think I've ever bought one of those, but those are pretty good ways to start because they have a lot of stuff. They can be like in the, I don't know, $70 to $200 range depending on what you get. That's one way to kind of get everything at once. Sometimes the quality of those tools aren't that high though, I've seen. For myself, I prefer to kind of piece things together. As I need something, then I buy something. And what I've learned over the years is if you think that you're really going to get into this hobby or into this activity, just go ahead and buy the good stuff once. And buy the good stuff. There's a few different good brands, but the most known one is Park Tools. So that AWS-1 I showed you, that's a Park Tools. Here's another Park Tools. This is the crank puller. So Park Tools is one of the best brands, or most well-known best brand out there, both for hobbyists and professionals. So if I can afford it, and if it's something that's relatively inexpensive especially, I just go for the Park Tools nowadays. But yeah, you'll need to get some tools. I'll make a whole nother video on home bike shop tools. But yeah, just check Amazon, check your local classifieds, check Craigslist, check eBay, check Facebook Marketplace. Wherever you want, you got to get some tools, some basic tools to get started doing home bike repair. Another important point is consider where you're going to work. When I first started getting into this way back in 2014, I was living in an apartment in Switzerland, and I didn't have a garage. I had a cellar, and everybody in apartments in Switzerland I think has the same type of cellar, which is a very small room with wooden slats for walls so everybody can see what you're doing. I think they don't really want you doing bike mechanics in there, but that's what I was doing. I built myself a very, very tiny, I mean probably like 2 feet wide workbench, which I put a vise on, and I was working in the cellar. I put cardboard on the bottom, on the floor, so that if I spilled fluids, it didn't get onto the floor. They're very picky about cleanliness there. So that's where I started, but consider where you're gonna work. You do need some space. Now, some people work in their apartment. I've seen people work on their balconies. I'm lucky enough now, I have a 2-car garage, and that's excellent. You can do a lot in a 2-car garage, but you know, consider that you're going to need some space to work. Where are you going to work? Maybe you have to consider like cleanliness. You may not want to work like in an apartment room, because you know, these bikes, your hands are going to get greasy. Everything you touch, any kind of wall or door or doorknob, it's all going to get greasy. You like, I know these guys on YouTube wear gloves and stuff, but realistically, you're probably not always going to be wearing gloves, and even if you are, it's just a messy hobby. Like working on bikes can be messy. There's fluids and rust and grime, and so you have to consider that, like wherever you're going to work is going to get to some extent a little bit messy. Yeah, consider where you're going to work. Find yourself a space that's appropriate. It's going to need some lighting. You're probably going to want some kind of electrical outlet. Although I've seen some home bike shops that don't have any electrical outlets. I like to have some electricity, even if not for a fan when it's really hot like it is right now. Yeah, so you're going to need to find a space, and that's up to you what kind of space you want to use or where that space is, but you should consider, if you're going to get started, where am I going to work? Another tip is to be safe. My father was an auto mechanic, and so he taught me quite a bit about fixing cars. I'm not a professional. I've never worked in an auto shop. But he taught me a lot. We rebuilt engines. We did all that hot rod stuff when I was much younger. So my point is cars are much more dangerous, I think, and much more complex. For sure, they're much more complex than bicycles. But nevertheless, bicycles, you do have to take them a little bit seriously too, depending on how you ride and all that. But you know, imagine if you're going down some hill and there's an intersection. In my mind, I'm thinking about like San Francisco. I was there earlier this year. And your brakes fail, you know, because you didn't bleed them right or something, and you can't stop. You go through an intersection, you can get killed, you know. I mean, for the most part, it's not like super dangerous working on your bike, I don't think, but you do have to take it a bit seriously, especially when it comes to like, you know, are your wheels on correctly and mounted? If you're building your wheels, did you build them right? Are your brakes working properly? All that stuff. And I mean, even stuff like your chain and your drivetrain, because, you know, if you're putting a ton of power through your pedals, you don't want that to let loose all of a sudden, right? You could easily cause you to crash. So even though, to me, it's not super hard in terms of the safety of bicycles and working on bikes, you do need to actually consider it and be serious, because, you know, you can get hurt on a bike, obviously. Don't just think, oh, it's a bicycle, I'll be fine, because, you know, you don't want to get killed or get seriously injured on your bike that you're wrenching on. And certainly you don't want to fix someone else's bike and have them get hurt. So the point of this tip is please be safe when you're doing your own bike mechanics. My next tip is just keep at it, because it'll take a lot of time. Like I said, I've been doing this for 11 years now, and I would say only in like the last 2 years have I felt really confident. Like I feel like I can grab any bike off the trash, I often do, or for sale for cheap. And I feel like at least the type of bikes that I get, which aren't like high-end modern bikes, they're just regular bikes. I feel confident I can do anything. Now, I'm not saying I'm as fast or as accurate or as good as like a professional does it day in and day out. I shouldn't be, but I can fix pretty much anything. I feel confident about working on bikes finally, but it's taken a long time. I look back on some of my videos, maybe 3 or 4 years into it, and I knew a lot less than I do now. For instance, wheel building. I've only built 2 wheels, and I've only been doing that in the past 2 or so years, I'd say. 3, 4 years ago, I didn't know how to do that. It was totally something I just never knew how to do. So as you go on, you learn more and more things, and you can't do it all at once. Not only do you not have enough, probably don't have enough time, you don't probably have enough money, and probably it's just gonna be difficult to cram all that into your head in a short period of time. Now, if you're doing it professionally, I think, by the nature of your job, you're gonna learn a lot faster. And maybe some people doing it as a hobby will learn faster than me or slower, it doesn't matter. But my point is just keep at it little by little. Basically, as you need to fix something on your bike, maintain something on your bike, or modify something on your bike, you can take that opportunity as an opportunity to learn. Or if you have friends or family who need some maintenance done, you can perhaps, I've never done this, I don't think, you can offer to help them with their bike. No, that's not true. I've done a little bit of that too. That gives you a little bit more opportunity to build your skill. If you want to do like what I do some bike flipping, I really think that's approachable for pretty much anybody. If you're just starting out, it's going to be a bit harder because you got to figure those mechanics out, but that will give you the opportunity to do it. Just make sure that you do it right. Another tip is, and I think I touched on it already, if you have like issues with your bike or you need to fix something on a bike and you don't have the tools, take it as an opportunity to acquire the tools, and then you'll learn how to use them, and then you can use them for later. Let me give you an example. As I mentioned on one of my other recent videos, I got 2 bikes that I'm flipping. One of them was that Trek bike, and another one is a Gary Fisher, which I haven't shown yet, but it had a broken spoke. Normally, when I need to replace spokes lately, I've just been buying the spokes, and now I have this huge collection of spokes. But I was watching Bike Farmer the other day, and I saw that he cut a long spoke and then threaded his own threads. I didn't even know that was possible, but he showed the tool that he had, and so I got myself one. And I think it's a beautiful tool, first of all. HKC, it just look, I don't know where it's from, it's some kind of maybe European tool, but yeah, this tool can let you thread your own spokes. So basically, as long as you have a spoke that's long enough, you can make it a shorter spoke. Very cool. This one was kind of expensive. I think I paid like $90 on eBay, and it's pretty old, but it does work. I already tested it. So anyway, the point is I didn't have that tool. I had a broken spoke, and by spending this $90 on this tool, from now until I die, as long as I have the tool, I'll be able to thread my own spokes, and then I don't got to spend, $10 to $20 on a new set of spokes every time I need to replace the spoke. So when you have something you need to do, just take the opportunity to get the tool, and over time your collection of tools will grow and grow and grow until you have a whole garage full of crap like me. Now, my last tip is one that I didn't really do myself too much, but I think it could be useful to think about, and that is find a friend. So if you're starting out new and you don't really have nobody to ask if you get stuck on something and you've watched videos but it still doesn't make sense, it might be a good idea to get to know somebody who knows a little bit more than you do on wrenching on bikes, or a bike shop. If you can go to the local bike shop and just ask them for some help, or say, hey, I got stuck on this thing. Hopefully they're a nice shop and they'll help you out and see that you want to learn, and just try to establish friendship with somebody who can teach you stuff, when you get stuck, or if you just have a question. I never did that myself. I'm just kind of somebody who doesn't like to, I'm just antisocial maybe, but, or if you have a friend who has been doing bike mechanics longer than you and knows more, you can always ask them. That's usually, most people are really keen on helping out and just, sharing the knowledge. So that is my 8 tips on how to get started and how to become a good bicycle mechanic. If I'm forgetting anything, if there's something I'm not thinking of, please do let me know down below. And I'd like to know what your experience was or is on becoming a bicycle mechanic, a home bicycle mechanic or a professional bicycle mechanic. Like, where did you start? What resources did you use? What kind of tools collection did you build up? I'm curious about all that. Like, I've done it my way, but I'm kind of curious, how did other people do it? Or if you haven't done it yet, let me know down below if you're thinking about or wanting to get into bicycle mechanics. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.